Well, welcome back, guys. It's been a day of good games. We're heading into our final match. It's the decider match of this European group, chock full of good players, and it comes down to a TvT and whether or not Kevin has destroyed everything over there. You good, buddy?
I think we're still good.
Good?
It almost everything crumbled, but
this mic's working?
Yep. No, I think we're still alive, and we're ready for some TvT. It's gonna be a fun one, man. Obviously, it's gonna be funny for us, Jeff, because we're gonna mess this up quite a few times. We already know it.
Where's Nate?
Guilty as well, that too, but obviously with the names I mostly meant, like HeroMarine against MarineLord. It's gonna be a beauty, but there's a really cool story behind this, and that is that historically they actually haven't played that much against each other, only 4 times in the history. Well, you know, they've been around forever, and obviously a lot of it was 2014, 2015, 2016. HeroMarine won all 3 games, or all 3 series back then, but then recently in WCS Spring they're in the same group, and I would almost say against all odds, MarineLord was able to beat HeroMarine, and that's not something we say very often when it comes to European Terrans beating HeroMarine. I think, yeah, maybe a Sol or a Utermal, but other than that, it just doesn't happen. Yeah. Well, yeah, he's Zerg.
As Terran.
Okay. Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. I wouldn't bet against it, Jeff. So it should be a really fun one, and I'm really curious to see who's going to end up on top this time.
2 Marines enter, 1 a hero, 1 a Lord. But only one of these guys can advance on to the top 8 of WCS Summer Challenger. On the top left-hand side, this one from Germany. Wait, fair match to end the day. What a pleasure. Oh, you. Anyways, on the top left-hand side, we in the StarCraft community know him as Big Gabe, but you can call him HeroMarine.
Only 21. He truly feels like a veteran. Feels like he's been around forever. The moment we've all been... These 2 guys are made for each other, by the way.
Aren't they?
In the right bottom side, hailing from France, representing O Gaming, it is the one and only MarineLord.
One of my favorite kind of cultural things about Terran players in particular, by the way, is A, they root against Terran players. So when they're watching it or commentating or whatever, they are constantly like, this guy made the wrong choice, I don't like this, this is like clearly not working, and then they kind of cheer on the other races. That's just my generalization, but it's actually starkly true. But also, they don't necessarily like playing each other, and this because it's their fault now. Like whoever loses this, you can't blame Protoss. It's just one of these guys is actually going to lose this match.
Often when they lose against Zerg, they'll still blame Protoss, Jeff. That's just it's like there's a lot of links.
I'm only here because Protoss exists.
If it wasn't for Protoss, I would have never ended up being in the lower bracket. I would have never been as tilted as I currently am, and I would have played way better. It's going to be a fun one. Like I said last time, MarineLord was able to defeat HeroMarine. I'm kind of still leaning towards HeroMarine, especially if you compare the games. I think MarineLord put up a good fight against Showtime as well, don't get me wrong, but HeroMarine made it very close. I mean, that final game, I was like, he's got it, right guys? He's got it. And then the SCVs come as well. I truly loved a couple of the last moments there on Turbo Cruise, because it felt like the SCVs helped out a lot. They even blocked 2 Archons from retreating. I was like, damn, what a game, what a series. And you're like, wait a minute. It's like, oh my god, that army is so low in HP. It's obviously a little bit tough, perhaps, for HeroMarine to come off a very close loss like that. Perhaps a frustrating loss as well. And then dive immediately into this TvT. But hey, he's here and he's going to have to get the job done. Like I said, he's only 21, but HeroMarine truly feels like a veteran at this point.
I didn't see MarineLord's age, but he can't be much older, right?
No, I don't think he's a lot
24,
older.
5 maybe?
No, younger than that, I'd say.
Even 23?
Yeah, 22, 23, maybe 21 as well. I can look it up for you if you want.
21, Kevin?
Let's take a look, Jeff. Let's take a look. See what's actually happening in the world of MarineLords.
There's this scene in The Office where Dwight and Jim are talking, and Dwight's like, the world's going to end in 19 days. I've done the math. And then Jim's like, 20 days? He's like, I can see that. 21? Yeah, that's possible.
24,
22?
Jeff. 24, you're on the money.
Yeah.
He looks so young.
That is young. 24 is really young.
Compared to us, yes, that's really young,
No,
Jeff.
Kevin, it's young.
The average age in Challenger can be above 24.
Ooh, interesting question. What is the average age, I wonder?
Well,
it changes every Challenger.
I mean, you're the number cruncher, Jeff.
I should. Well, I have only just now begun to crunch those numbers. So
okay.
I'll get back to you.
Can't wait to hear from you. Taking a look at these build orders, guys. Obviously seems quite even across the board at this point. That even in Workers, we see the first Cyclones are being produced. Most likely going to be a Raven over here on HeroMarine's side. And
MarineLord.
Yeah, I guess MarineLord's going to do the exact same thing. Wow. Well, that's the first sacrificial Reaper.
Tried to hide that. There's a lot of Marines behind that, and that's kind of weird. 6 Marines? Yeah, that's weird.
But this is a very big map, right? So it's very unlikely that those slow Marines are really going to have a big impact anytime soon.
Kevin? You think so?
I mean, actually, we saw Thermal the other day made a super weird random pusher with like 2 Hellions and 6 Marines without stim, without combat shield, and actually did so much damage against one of my Protoss buddies. But I think that's something you can only get away with if you truly have a very strong feeling about how your opponent opens. These guys are obviously having a good feel right now that they're doing pretty much the exact same thing, getting ready to get their first tanks out. Are we expecting any mech play here, Jeff? I don't think so, right?
Not right now, no. But I'm quietly enjoying the meta of your commentary that I'm witnessing, which is the size of the map really kind of worries you. You're like 6 Marines, but
No, it doesn't worry me.
It's too big of a map. They can't do it. They can't get all the way over there. You can't walk all the way across the map.
They can.
What are they supposed to do? They're just young men.
I just don't think they'll have much of an impact, that's all. MarineLord, by the way, plays really greedy, I've noticed, in the majority of his games. We already obviously acknowledged a couple times that he likes to skip out on turrets, sensor towers, but he often drops bases on location as well. This man does not believe in flying his buildings over. There's a Raven there that provides high ground vision, but MarineLord, or HeroMarine rather, is like, nah, let's disengage for now. I guess that's the only real difference so far, right? That MarineLord is actually expanding on location, so his economy is going to go up and running a little bit quicker than the one of HeroMarine. But obviously that's not game deciding. Other than that, it is so even. This is the first real interesting skirmish. A Cyclone does go down on either side, but in the end, maybe HeroMarine should be able to pick off one more unit here. No, too slow, Jeff.
Too slow, Joe. And he's being really active with the Raven with this, which I saw earlier. And I was like, this is cool, because he was picking off observers. Now, I think it's for escapability. Like, if anything super scary shows up, you can shut it down and get away. But I also find Raven energy in these TvTs early is really important. So it's kind of crazy that he's flirting with it.
Well, Jeff, look at these slow Marines. They're
look at them go. They're like, yeah, he's like, I want you to go across the map. They're like, all the way across the map.
That's bad. That's a second Cyclone that now has already gone down for HeroMarine. And at this point, yes, he knows. Wow, he's got 3 Ravens, by the way. He's just leveling up. I can't wait for the one Terran that opens up with 4 Ravens. Like, if you've got 2, I've got 3, and then the other guy shows up with 4.
And it will be 4GG coming out of retirement. He'll be like, yeah, it's 4 guys. And everyone's like, what? 2 is how many we did. And then someone went crazy and made 3. And he's like, yeah, what about 4? And then Polt's like, I see your 4 and I made 5. 5's the number. And everyone's like, oh my god, well if Polt did it, then let's tell Roddy about it in his channel. And then the random 50-year-old Terran shows up and he's like, what if I just don't make any Vikings and I open up or Ravens and I open up with like 6 Vikings? Magdalena Pax. And everyone's like, it's called the Magdalena Pax build, and it's
it's no Ravens at all. It's groundbreaking.
Beastie Cutie makes a YouTube video. You won't believe what I saw on this TvT.
It's possible, Jeff. We never know where TvT goes, right? It has evolved quite a bit over the years.
Yeah.
A couple Marines do go down here near the Zelnaga Watchtower. It's mostly a battle for positioning at this point, and I guess MarineLord just wants to keep HeroMarine away from his expand, where he's like, yeah, I expanded on location. I should be fine.
Wants to keep HeroMarine.
Yeah, it's great. These names are awesome.
I wish a commentator had a Marine in his name. That would be funny. Like Nate is not Nate, but he instead like the Marine Driver or something like that. Anyways.
I don't think that would really work out, Jeff. It's okay. So HeroMarine right now is completely okay with just being as patient and defensive and passive as possible.
Yeah.
Probably just gathering up as much energy. Look at MarineLord expanding on location again. My fort base is going to be on location as well.
Well, this one makes more sense to me, though, because he's the one aggroing out, hogging the tower, and really forcing HeroMarine to scan and see where this army's at. They're both going for Vikings, by the way, which with those Ravens becomes really weird, because both the Dorito Cannon and the Shutdown's actually good there. And it kind of becomes a question of which you decide to land and how you land them, and then if you can sustain the fight, right? Because sometimes you shut down too many and Dorito Cannon them, and then obviously they don't stay there and fight. They just pull back. So can you pursue?
To double down on that, even the other turrets can have a very big impact on these battles, right? Especially if you have 3 Ravens full of energy.
Just everything the Raven does is pretty good.
Yep. I actually think that the auto turrets and interference matrix will most likely have a bigger impact on this next battle. I think anti-armor missile is fantastic, but right now it's a little more about the tanks and it is about the Marines. Obviously, if the Marine numbers grow, that will not necessarily always be the case, but this phase in the game, I would favor myself a little interference matrix or a couple auto turrets.
Cheeky one?
Yeah. You can make it cheeky if you want, Jeff.
Yeah.
Well, they're not cheeky. They're not cheeky by default, but if you really want to go there.
Always. This Marine's going to spot the army moving out. And they both have very similar compositions, and by very similar I mean basically exactly the same. The numbers are fluctuating, of course, but it is Marine, Tank, Viking, Raven going up to battle with each other. Tank's going to try to sneak up against this little cliff and then lob shells over the top.
Don't forget that MarineLord has invested in that fourth base. HeroMarine did not do that yet. He is going to drop it right now. Once again, is dropping it in a very safe spot in his main base. His army is a little bit bigger. I kind of wonder where the resources went of MarineLord, and I guess he is... No, that's... I mean, he's already getting additional starports and a fusion core, so perhaps that's where some of that supply is. Or at least that what HeroMarine has. This is actually a little bit risky by MarineLord. The army is a lot bigger of HeroMarine. Jeff, here we go. Interference matrix.
Tanks shut down. Big concave of the Bioforest there. Is that Dorito cannon, but it's too little and too late. HeroMarine is going to get the cleanup there, and apparently the game. MarineLord's out.
What? 9 minutes and 50 seconds of build-up for that engagement, for that fight. Well, you know, it's actually kind of crazy. Like, obviously, if you want to be critical, why is MarineLord still being that aggressive? Why is going up to 4 bases faster?
Yeah.
He's building a fusion core. He's building 2 extra starports. Nothing was sieged up. I mean, if you talk about anticlimactic, that was a little bit anticlimactic, Jeff.
You ever, you live next to Germany, so you've seen this before. You ever driven like the Autobahn or a freeway and you've done like 90 or 100 for a while?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you pull off of that, things seem even slower, right? Like it's hard to kind of grasp how fast you were moving.
Yep.
Whenever I watch TvT, I see 2 players playing with absolute superpowers and the most powerful stuff in all of StarCraft. And I think sometimes they themselves lose track of how strong it is. MarineLord's like, I've got 4 tanks. Nobody can attack me. Wrong. A guy with 4 tanks can't attack a guy with 4 tanks, and that's exactly what happened. And a bigger concave of Marines. He lost track. Against the Protoss, we have to run. Unless you're DNS. You jump right in there. Jump in deep and you jump in hard.
Patience. There's a few more, right? There's a couple
Patience will blink on you.
There's
no
a couple,
problem.
No, there's a couple Protoss players out there that will make us proud and never show any fear in their gameplay.
Basically, everyone east of Germany. All the Protoss players east of Germany will do it.
You know, there's actually some truth to it now that I think about it.
Yes.
I play Russian Protosses a lot lately, and those guys have no fear.
Yeah. They don't waste time with GGs either. That's the other part. Like, they're just too busy attacking, so...
Kind of a silly game, of course. I mean, it was shaping up to be perhaps a fantastic game if both these guys get a 4-base economy up and running and we get, you know, nice skirmishes between the Vikings, but that's not how that was supposed to happen, okay? That feels a little bit like the final season of a great TV show that just did not live up to the expectations.
And this was actually better still.
Yeah.
The final fight was way better than the one we got. No, you're right. I was actually already laughing because you said it was shaping up, and it was. I actually like MarineLord being out on the map. But that's a razor's edge. If you, like Roddy was kind of prefacing this the whole time. He's like, the army of HeroMarine is bigger. Like, this is looking kind of scary. And you can get away with that as long as you're siege, as long as you're spotting forward. You can have the smaller army, and it can just have the earlier concave, the tank shots. It makes a big deal. But if you're unsieged, you get shut down, and this fight happens the way it did. And also, it's worth noting as well, HeroMarine got off all of his Raven energy right off the bat. And then MarineLord got his off as like a response, but the concave was then 1 for HeroMarine. So
he must have had at least 15. I checked a little bit before that, and he was already up 12 Marines, but then even more Marines showed up. Yeah. I think that was probably a better way. He had 20 Marines over his opponent. I mean, we know the DPS, especially when the tanks are not sieged and the interference matrices were casted. Yeah, a bit sloppy.
So in the question of hero versus Lord, in this case, it was the heroes. For now.
Of course, this is America. It's all about the superhero movies, Jeff.
That's right. We don't have lords. No kings and queens in America. Just heroes. Well, okay. We're in game number 2 here. It is going to be King's Cove. And so far, everyone's building on location, so nothing getting too terribly mixed up with these players.
If you're bored about that, by the way, guys, if they're bored, the people at home is like, why are they building everything in the main base? Don't worry. WCS NA Challenger is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
We've got 2 Terrans in the group, and I'm expecting a lot of buildings to be built on the other side of the map.
Yeah,
okay?
And they're not even Masa either. It's like, it's just the next set of rodeo clowns that come out and distract or get hit by the bull.
Sodorx is playing, and is the other one Crucial Nog? Is that? I know Australia, Jon Snow are playing, and then we have 2. Oh, it's Drunken Boy, excuse me. I think it's Drunken Boy, Sodorx, and then Jon Snow and Australia. It should be fun. I think it's going to be wild. Buckle up, because it's going to be quite a day again. Yeah.
Australia's very good. Does weird builds, though. Jon Snow is always a bit of a bully in the WCS NA scene. It's kind of, we were talking about this yesterday, but for Jon Snow, he's got the skill, he's got the talent. It's always just been once he qualifies for the tournament, he kind of has, for his level play, I would say, a disappointing result. Because it's not like he always runs into like a Serral and loses. He runs into kind of the mid-tier guys, like any of the EU number 6, number 7. Well, I guess it's not mid-tier, but you know, like beatable guys for him, possibly, anyways. But then he just doesn't.
He's been slacking a bit on the ladder, though, I've seen.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Yeah, he went 22-3 in his last. Well, this is a while ago. I'm sure he's played a lot of games since then. Pretty good run, beating your Pulse and some of these other really good players like Puck, but ending up losing and struggling against that commentator. Me. I'm just kidding. Right? We're always kidding, Jon Snow, but this joke will go as long as until you slaughter me next time. So.
He's gonna one day he's just gonna sit down.
He'll find me, yeah.
9 games in a row.
Well, that's the best part is he can try to stream snipe me, but I'm like 800 points lower than him, so there's not a chance. There's not a guarantee he'll get me. Like it had to be a weird thing. Anyways, getting into this game, we do have a couple of Reapers coming out for HeroMarine, and he's actually building a third, which is generally speaking aggressive. You don't build 3 Reapers with the idea of being defensive. And on the flip side, MarineLord, in his kind of innocent little Terran village over here, he's moving on. He's teching up. He doesn't want to fight. Okay.
Isn't it kind of crazy how once again it feels like MarineLord is playing a little bit greedy? He expanded a lot faster than HeroMarine did. Absolutely, well, I want to say 0 scouting, but I guess he just checked the outskirts of his base to see if there's a barracks right there and then, but never crossed the halfway point of this map. This is one of those moments where if HeroMarine gets a good initial engagement with his Reapers and Hellions, but obviously he doesn't know what we know, right? If he would have gone for it, if it would have been pedal to the metal, these Marines without a bunker are going to be very, very vulnerable targets.
Yeah, which is always my favorite, is when players play like really greedy, and the odd time where that does happen and they get ran over, they're like, this game's so stupid, I can't believe that. And it's like, what? And you're like, I expanded without any defenses, I didn't scout at all, and I was just kind of sitting here hoping he wouldn't fight me, and then guess what he did? He fought me. I can't stand it.
HeroMarine stayed at home a little bit longer though than he perhaps should have, so now with the Cyclone out I can only assume that MarineLord is going to be fine. But it's always a bit risky, right? When there's 3 Reapers in the mix, you got to be careful of those grenades, because the grenades can really mess with the Cyclone. The Cyclone is going to run into these units right now. Ooh. Okay, Reaper's actually just hopping into the main base. Maybe they can get a little bit of damage done.
Yeah. Maybe just a little bit though. I don't know. The SCVs could have collapsed on that as well, but I don't think they're getting...
What, 5? I mean, it is quite an investment, right?
Did all the Hellions die?
I think both of them went down as well, yes. So that's 5 units going down for 5 SCVs. At least economically, HeroMarine tied things up. But yeah, if you take a look at the army supplies right now, he's already down 10, 11. First tank is out for MarineLord, and he might actually try to get a little adventurous over here.
But Kevin, those map. Marines are going to...
I know exactly where you're going to go. You can't get me, Jeff. I know you so well. It's a big map, but not as big as Acropolis.
I just like that you're like, it's so funny, you're concerned. You're like, well, they're just, I mean, they'll get there eventually, but these little guys, it's such a big map. Who can see them getting all the way over there?
All right. 2 Cyclones are going to engage with this army. This would be a nice little first pickup. They're going to both lock on the Cyclone. No, actually, only one of them. Wow, MarineLord is actually the one picking off the Cyclone of HeroMarine. HeroMarine got a Hellion, but obviously you much rather get a Cyclone than a Hellion.
And we can see the difference in players continuing. The 3rd command center for HeroMarine is safely tucked into the natural. The 3rd for MarineLord at the 3rd. Stylistically, these guys are very different. Now the Reapers, its time has kind of come and gone. So it's going to move out and see if there's a 3rd and kind of check in on the time. You can see it making its way to the top of the map there. Both players adding their double engineering base. So it will be that Bioforce again.
Yep, this time they did take slightly different routes to get where they are right now, but it's obviously still pretty damn similar. MarineLord does have a nice Marine advantage this time. He's got 16 Marines out at this point. HeroMarine's only at 10. But you know what, Jeff? By the time they cross this big map, there is a very good chance that those numbers have evened up.
Well, those little squatty legs, man, it just takes so long.
Look at that Reaper. Just hops in, gets an SCV, tries to get out. He's going to get shot down, but MarineLord now at least knows that that base was not built on location, so he's like, hey, got away with it once again.
Yeah. Both players kicking into overdrive a little bit.
Hey, he's copying HeroMarine of the previous game. He's like, you had 3 Ravens, right? I had 2. This is where it all went wrong. This game, I'll go get 3 Ravens myself.
Don't build a 4th, though.
No, not
Break the trends here.
I do really wonder where it is. When do we reach the point where just no Ravens are better? Like, you can go straight into Vikings and you just kill those Ravens.
They hit this weird turning point where they're like, listen, I don't go from 4 to 5, I go from 4 to 0. I don't like any Ravens at all. It's like, but you just built Fort for like 2 years. Like, yeah, and that's exactly what's wrong with the world. Why?
I want to be the one that makes a change. So MarineLord is up a little bit in supplies, obviously, but that's because he played a tiny bit greedier. And you can also say, like, he expanded faster and he got away with it. Didn't really take any real damage against the Reapers and the Hellions. But this will come down to the engagements. And the previous engagement on Acropolis did not go well for MarineLord, and that would be an understatement. Hopefully, Jeff, this game will get a little more back and forth. We'll get a little more of a dance, because I want to see what these guys are made of in TvT when they have to fight and defend at multiple locations at once.
You know, we make our jokes, but I think one of the most explosive fights in all of StarCraft is going to be stimmed Marines at the like 9-10 minute mark and tanks, right? Just the immediate DPS, if you could chart that out, is ridiculous. And MarineLord was caught out of position, and when it goes that one way, it snowballs so quickly, right? Like tanks shooting non-tanks, Marines getting hit by tanks. So hopefully we do avoid that, because I would like a more final moment here. These are the last two guys trying to get into that top 8.
He's definitely been a little more passive this game, so perhaps that previous experience did struck some fear into his heart.
Yeah.
He's going to build his fort on location now as well. We can take a look on the right side of the screen. Guys, this is a mirror. As much of a mirror as one thing could be. All of the upgrades are finishing up.
Look at the non-sensor towers too, because like HeroMarine's army is just unsieged and parked at the 3rd. What if the army just shows up at the natural and stims and runs up in there? Well, I guess he's got stuff kind of out in front, but just out in front. I like the map vision for MarineLord. He's got those spotter depots, excuse me, everywhere. He's got Marines kind of going around checking. They both are a little bit. HeroMarine also has stuff now at his 4th base, so it's not like that could have happened. I take back what I said. But they're both just sitting back and being ultra passive, whereas the game before, MarineLord was sharking for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah, it's almost like HeroMarine is saying like, hey, you should move to the other side of the map again. Wouldn't it be nice if we can just fight right next to all of my barracks that are pumping out 10, 11 Marines at a time?
Yeah.
And if I do get a good engagement, there's a good chance that things will just end right there. At this point, it's just a little skirmish here and there for vision. This is, of course, really important, guys. I know these fights look silly, but everything that Jeff just said, that stands true. If you don't have any vision in the middle of the map, that massive army can suddenly appear. And if it then seizes up in a dangerous position, maybe you have to give up your fort or your natural or your 3rd base. So these little skirmishes, as silly as they seem, they are very important because you need to know where your opponent's forces are.
Look at their combat shields. Same time.
Well, at the same time, though.
Very close. Yeah. To the naked eye, it's virtually the same time.
But on the
to a fully clothed eye, we know that it's not.
Once again, the extra starports already on the way for our French Terran player. He does it a little bit faster in general than his German counterpart. Well, yeah, both players just chilling. Obviously, there's a lot on the line, guys. The winner of this series will move on to the round of 8. At that point, you're 1 series away from getting an all-expenses-paid trip into WCS Summer. And, of course, you get seeded into the tournament as well. Cyclone Skirmish. Jeff, we're close to maxing out. I think it's time to party.
These guys are like, listen, we did a no-rush 10-minute game. But this audience wants a show, so we're going to do it here eventually. And I'm looking up that production tab to see if there's a backup plan. And you can kind of see the fusion core for MarineLord coming out a little bit faster. It's HeroMarine that's more dogged about just being like, no, we're going to fight it out like this for a while.
Once again, it feels like MarineLord is investing in a lot of things that will pay off in the future, but not necessarily right now. And of course you can say like, well, who cares? He's maxed out. That's sort of true, but it obviously means he's going to have a slightly smaller bank soon, because he's building 3 command centers at once. One's, of course, on location once again. Doesn't have his +2 weapons yet, but is about to finish up. He's got the planetary here. Jeff, weapons ready, Ravens ready.
And it's a weird kind of standoff. And in fact, that if the matrices go off, but there's no follow-up to that, so they were kind of wasted in that way.
10 against 8 tanks, by the way. Well, one of the tanks does get picked off immediately. That's a pretty damn good anti-armor missile.
But then he doesn't. He has no plans to go in on it, so who cares?
He's getting 5 Vikings at a time at this point. That's the fusion core for HeroMarine. It's a little bit later. It's the Viking count at either side. It's 13 Vikings on the side of MarineLord against only 9 on the side of HeroMarine.
And better Raven energy, I think. So it is going to be HeroMarine that backs up. He like showed up randomly, said, let's do this! And then MarineLord's like, spellcaster, spellcaster. He's like, you know what? I'll be back later! And he just pulls back.
Is MarineLord just completely forgetting his 3-3 upgrades, Jeff? There we go.
Well, now he hears you.
They were spot on when it came to upgrades for the majority of this game. So maybe this opens up a window of opportunity for HeroMarine. But of course, since the tank count and the Viking count is so high on either side, it is still really hard to be like, well, I've got an upgrade advantage. Let's go ahead and stim forward. Oh no, tanks are still very good against my Marines.
Look where this game's going though, Kev. 3 more starports to join the 2 that are already out. And you talked about the Vikings coming, so it's going to be Viking Liberator. It's not going to be about the tanks as much.
Maybe Battle Cruiser as well.
Battle Cruiser, apparently.
Yep. The Yamato cannons, we don't have advanced ballistics yet, right? No, that's not on the way.
So I was wrong.
That's a lot of Marines, by the way, on the right side, but he's going to eat an anti-armor missile and he's going to have to disengage for now, because that's not a fight you can take against all these Marines of MarineLord.
Nope, he's going to lose a few guys. The kind of funny thing is at this stage, you'll notice, I actually almost suspect the game is rigged in some ways, because I'll watch like 2 medevacs and 16 Marines die, and then look at the supply, it's 200, 200. What? They don't even count. So that's fine, that's nice, but it doesn't matter is what I'm trying to get at.
Man, he's going to have a really fast battle cruisers, but Marines are pretty damn good against battle cruisers as well. And obviously the BCs don't have the upgrades that the bio units have, right? Like, BCs look impactful, and they obviously can be, especially in higher numbers. But 1 or 2 battle cruisers with barely any upgrades are not going to fly very well against Marines with 3-3.
And they still get shut down, by the way, right? Like the Raven still just kind of shuts down a battle cruiser.
Well, 1 medevac, by the way.
Oh, God. Well, he needs to lose supply. This is fine.
Yep.
He's like, sorry, guys. Get out and do what you can. 1 Marine against 30. Oh, no, I lost it.
Look at these Vikings. That's 1 medevac down for sure. The second one takes quite a bit of damage as well. And another anti-armor missile is going to land. But HeroMarine will just run away. MarineLord is setting chase. He's got more and more battle cruisers on the way. He has to be a bit careful. This is once again one of those moments where I feel like MarineLord should not be out that far. If you look at his army right now, that doesn't look like a very intimidating army. The army of HeroMarine looks a lot bigger, but obviously the battle cruisers are on the way. Additional tanks are on the way as well.
Yeah, he wants to lose them. He wants to lose a little bit of supply. So I don't disagree with you. He can't lose the whole army, but he actually does want to lose parts of it, funny enough. Scans, going to show the battle cruisers now. Yamato on the Vikings, presumably, but they get shut down before they can ever get off their long shot.
I think a couple of them went on the tank. More interference matrix being casted on these Vikings. So HeroMarine lost a lot of his Marines on the ground. Look at all these tanks from MarineLord on the low ground there. They were able to get 1 or 2 shots off. And that was going to be it for almost all of the Marines that HeroMarine had on this side of the map.
I feel like battlecruisers are a really bad answer here. And I know I might be saying that screeching into the oblivion that is Terran players in the chat. They're like, no, Jeff, that's the meta, you idiot. And that's a risk I'm willing to take. But their Yamato takes so long to shoot off that the Raven almost always inevitably shuts it down. And then it's not like it just shuts down the shot.
Where are these BCs right now? There are 2 battle cruisers, but they're not here, and that actually makes for kind of an awkward fight. That Viking did a really good job, by the way, or the Raven, excuse me, to soak up a lot of these Viking shots. Now Marines getting dropped on top of these tanks. The Viking skirmish is still in favor of MarineLord, actually, and that's going to keep him safe here.
Yep, he's going to go back with the medevac, but it won't be in time. Actually gets a couple of tanks peeled off, so that's not bad. The Viking count of HeroMarine getting reset is a huge deal, because we can see the battlecruisers still coming out, and also the Ravens, by the way. So just about everything I talked about is, at least for now, kind of null and void. Because HeroMarine now has to make more Ravens and Vikings if he's going to have an answer, but he's probably just going to make Vikings, which all of a sudden the battlecruisers become pretty okay.
I don't think the Ravens matter that much anymore. It's more about the Marines and the Vikings. He does have, right now, 1 Viking more. The problem is, MarineLord has 3 battlecruisers in the sky, and they can obviously help out quite a bit as well with either a Yamato or just fighting these Vikings in the first place. And the tank positioning of MarineLord this game has been pretty damn awesome. That is -1 BC for almost nothing though, so that's a bit sloppy. But these tanks, Jeff, how are these tanks in range even? What's the range in these boys?
That's 2 monitors, Kevin.
2 monitors, okay.
Yeah, you can see pretty far. I think you just take the Tempest and times that by 3. That's what a tank can shoot. Behind this, MarineLord is expanding across the board, by the way. And it is just HeroMarine on these 5 bases, one of which had to get dislodged. And now this one's under threat. He is going back to Ravens. This army feels small, by the way, of MarineLord. The Marines
They gotta kill the tanks. They gotta kill the tanks. If they get the tanks, they can obviously get the battlecruisers as well. They gotta move forward a little bit further. A lot of these tanks still taking care of the majority of these Marines. So MarineLord wins the battle in the sky and actually keeps 2 tanks alive as well. His army felt small, but apparently, Jeff, it was more than powerful enough.
And now 5 battlecruisers are up in there. And the nice thing for the Vikings is they can kite back. Like, battlecruisers, of course, in a stand-up fight will beat the Vikings, but they get outranged. And it's just basically only because of that He's going to have to tuck tail and fly, and he wins the fight, but Kevin, am I on to something or am I being weird? I feel like the battlecruiser tech is the wrong choice. He's going into Vikings now and tanks behind that, so he's kind of mechanizing.
I'm not sure. I think it truly comes down to execution. I think it's hard to say like, oh, I think a lot of Terrans, like you said, will absolutely be a fan of it. It's just very important that he doesn't lose the Viking war by a whole lot, right? Like, because then the BCs are going to be sitting ducks. And it's important to have a little bit of cover for the battlecruisers as well. At this point, MarineLord only has 3 tanks. And Marines, if they stim forward and they get underneath those BCs, then I'm totally with you. But I think it all comes down to the positioning that MarineLord puts himself in. And don't forget, he still needs to catch up in the upgrades, right? The BCs become a lot more impactful if they actually have the same upgrades as, let's say, the bio units.
So here's the scenario I'm scared of. I agree with, I mean, everything you said is of course on point. You're a very smart young man, but you just keep making Vikings, and it gets to the point where you're one-shotting a battlecruiser every time it's exposed, and then when the Vikings of MarineLord get a volley off, they kill like 2 Vikings, who cares? But if you lose, I don't know, we'll see. I'm not going to go too deep down this rabbit hole, but that base does get destroyed, or at least dislodged for right now.
MarineLord, his tank positioning this game has been awesome. There's really no other way to put it. Throughout every stage, whether he was defending or applying some pressure in the middle of the map, or now over here once again. He only had 3 tanks. He only brought 3 tanks with this push, but they're making this so complicated for HeroMarine.
And we're going to have that fight. The Concave Marines kind of hanging back, trying to help out with the Vikings. A lot of disruption matrices do go down. And it's going to be MarineLord tucking tail and running. The Marines on the low ground, keep in mind, they just have the battlecruisers to worry about, but these are fully loaded, stock, post-human warriors of space as they chase down that capital ship and destroy it. And now the Vikings are over here as well, and there's nothing MarineLord can do to get these units out. He invested in air. It's getting reset. Look at that production tab. He's going back to battlecruisers and Vikings. Kevin, paint me a Terran. I think I'm a Terran commentator. I snuffed out weakness, and I'm feeling it.
Don't forget that that wasn't everything that MarineLord had, right? Like, he had a lot of units still at home, so I guess HeroMarine winning that fight is not the craziest thing ever, but I do agree with you that it was terrible for MarineLord in the end, because he lost not a little bit, but he lost everything there. All the Vikings, lost the BCs. He's now going to try to hang in there, but he barely has anything to keep his own battlecruisers safe. And so far, Jeff, you're definitely spot on when you say the battlecruisers have not been working out for MarineLord.
Yeah, it's feeling rough. He's not actually repairing this one that's very low. He's in a desperate situation, so sometimes those kind of decisions fall by the wayside. We're going to have this fight. The Viking count is, again, still critically in favor of HeroMarine for right now. The battlecruisers have been shifted offline. The Ravens are saying, no, I don't want to deal with you guys just yet. And now HeroMarine once again pushing in, killing tanks, up in supply. And maybe he can't get to that planetary, and now kind of sloppily losing some Vikings to the Marines there. He's got to be careful. He has blocked off the left side of the map, which is where the fresh new bases went down, and that's critical in a TvT.
HeroMarine has no idea, by the way, about these bases on the south side. Or maybe he kind of expects that they're there. Once again, interference matrix being casted on 2 of these BCs. MarineLord trying to scramble together every penny that he somehow has access to, because he just needs a few more units. The BCs are starting to get on top of these tanks, though, and that could actually be enough to even the supply up. By the way, during all of this, +3 attack finally finished up for these battlecruisers. He does not have +3 armor on the way, but maybe that's going to be happening in the future. He survived with all of his bases still intact.
Yeah, I think the tax there was he lost 4 orbitals, but like you said, he's got the on-location bases, and that's the more important one, of course. And behind this, I think the other big deal there too was HeroMarine lost all of his Vikings, and that is his edge right now, right? Like, if he gets to equal Vikings, but there's also 6 battlecruisers in the sky, he's not going to win that fight. So he needs to get back on top in that way.
Well, they're both about to get 18 Vikings. Planetary Fortress in the left bottom side is under fire. It just finished up. Can we take a look at the left bottom real quick? Marine should be able to get that if you space him out a little bit, and we can trust HeroMarine to do that. So that's nice. He's going to be able to at least pick up one of these bases, but can he keep his own orbital safe on the other side of the map?
Going to be tough. Tanks on the high ground over there now. Marines supporting it as well. And I like the addition of the Marines, by the way. It was something he was kind of not having in the previous fight, so just the few Marines of HeroMarine would be able to clean up the tanks and give chase to the 1 or 2 battlecruisers. But now that field has been evened. This base has been, it's seen some stuff, Kevin. This has been, there's so many bodies here.
Our boy Pig would say it's been a bloodbath right in front of this orbital. Because a lot of units have gone down. MarineLord going to bring those tanks a little bit closer. They're going to be in range of the SCVs now. HeroMarine's army in the sky looks massive, but MarineLord, believe it or not, has more Vikings than HeroMarine.
And here they come, and it's going to be a bit of a surround. He does shut down the battle cruisers, but there's so many Vikings. They're in a concave. The Marines on low ground, though, are absolutely annihilating the Vikings, and I think that's again been the X factor. Now giving chase, there's the Stim Marines. They do so much damage at this late stage of the game, and the air battle has turned heavily in favor of HeroMarine. He is down in supply, though. Where's this happening?
He's losing a lot of
army, but he's losing a lot of SCVs. The tanks over there are just walloping still.
Yeah, but if these Marines are able to clean up all of these Vikings, I mean, it should still be very close.
I mean, there's still tanks over there.
He's going to be able to pick up these 3 tanks. At least the kill count on these tanks, by the way, is massive. 22, 27, and 21 kills on those 3 tanks.
And they're actually not done yet. Getting some more shots off. 41 SCVs for HeroMarine. I think if he would have not... I mean, it was just them shooting forever, unmitigated. If that had not happened, this game's completely in his favor, and he wins. But as it is right now, he's up in army supply, which is nice. He's up in situation, I guess, but he's down in workers, so he's going to need a minute to recoup here.
Yep, and he's not going to be able to break this planetary with just a couple of Marines. Can we take a look at the income graph over the last few minutes? Because MarineLord must have been out mining HeroMarine by quite a bit. There were actually spikes where HeroMarine was mining more. I guess it's just a mule spike. But right now there is a pretty significant advantage on the side of MarineLord.
We're going to re-up on this fight. I think without tanks on the high ground, I don't know that MarineLord has what it takes to kind of, he's going to back up here. And looking at the production tab, he's adding more Ravens and just Vikings now. He's getting away from the battlecruisers himself, which then makes the Viking war kind of interesting, right? Because then they're just fighting to be fighting.
And there are still 4 Ravens on the side of HeroMarine, and they're obviously gathering up a lot of energy. MarineLord is also producing 3 Ravens himself. It's going to take a little while before those are out and have the same amount of energy. HeroMarine has way more Marines, has a slightly bigger army as well. But obviously MarineLord still having A, more bases, and B, more SCV. So over time, MarineLord should be able to catch up.
Yeah, neither have a bank though, which is kind of interesting. They're about equal in supply. They're just not mining enough to really bank up here, and they've kind of fallen back on a little bit more passive times. MarineLord trying to take the left side base, just off the virtue of HeroMarine not knowing about it, basically.
It's a pretty epic game, Jeff. I'd say slightly better than Acropolis, right?
I would rate this higher than that one, yeah.
This one tank on the high ground is getting a couple of good shots off, but good splitting there by HeroMarine is going to be able to pick it off. Viking count obviously always important in this phase in the game. It's 24 on either side. You can't make this up.
It's amazing. 2 more factories being added. Actually 3 battlecruisers again for a MarineLord. It's the tanks right now kind of sparing MarineLord a grisly death. Nice anti-armor there, so that means that HeroMarine's going to have to run forever. Even with him having medevacs versus the Marines that don't, they just take so much damage when they're under that ability.
And obviously those medevacs would disappear immediately as well, right? Since there were 24 Vikings behind that Marine army. I mean, HeroMarine has lost slightly more resources throughout this game. And by that fact, I'm actually kind of surprised that he's still able to max out, because it really does feel that MarineLord has been able to mine a little more freely. We've got battlecruiser harass right now happening. Got to be careful, of course, with Ravens nearby as well. But
be careful.
Be careful, mate.
It is a projectile, and they do instantly teleport away, so that is the nice part. You just have to kind of be paying attention, I guess.
Or be careful.
Be careful. The tank count of HeroMarine, by the way, kind of an interesting effect that's happening here. Each time he runs up to a planetary, unless he has his whole army, he really can't challenge it. So he's kind of running behind minerals now with these forces. I
actually really like that move, though. If you just put like 10 Marines or 5 Marines behind either mineral line, you can't really mine up it. The planetary doesn't reach.
Wow, HeroMarine stepped into a lot of tanks, and I think he's going to finally have to concede this space to MarineLord. There's just too many tanks down there.
Well, I think he thinks about fighting it once again. A lot of interference matrices. I don't know if there are a lot of Marines here for MarineLord. I believe there are still a couple, but the air battle this time is a decisive victory for MarineLord, even without a couple of these battlecruisers getting the shots off that they need. And it seems like the battlecruisers, Jeff, in the end, were perhaps worth their weight in gold after all.
Maybe. And the win does go to MarineLord over there. It was all about that base on the right side of the map one way or another, and it finally did get decided. I mean, the only comment I think I would add is that, yes, in the end, the battlecruisers did help in that fight, but I don't know if like 5 or 6 Vikings would have just actually been better for each battlecruiser, right? It's cool. In theory, I see what they are, and to give credit where credit's due, if HeroMarine's not in a position to win the air battle as decisively as he did, then the battlecruisers, aided by the Vikings of MarineLord, just win the game, right? They kill tanks, the Yamato stuff, the medevacs never see the light of day, and then Marines trying to run underneath the battlecruisers with like 4 or 5 tanks like we saw in that last fight. It just doesn't happen. So that is a nice final army, and they finally got the engagement we wanted and probably showed off the strength of the whole synergy.
It's a super interesting dance because obviously HeroMarine wanted to get Marines to participate in the battle over and over again because he's like, Marine and Viking, I will beat your Sky Army. And then for MarineLord, it was all about let's fight near my tanks so my tanks can kill your Marines and then I win the Sky Army. And once or twice, I think HeroMarine did a really good job in either taking care of the tanks or avoiding the tanks. But the moment he couldn't, I mean, that's where you did see the battlecruiser shine. And obviously it takes a long time, right, for the battlecruisers to have the upgrades that they truly need to actually survive Marine shots the way they did in the end as well. That helps.
Well, it was a heck of a game. And we're going to game 3 here in this decider match. This will be the last one of the EU side of the bracket. We'll go to a quick break after this game and come back with the NA portion of WCS for today. But what a treat. It's been some nice series, by the way. We sometimes make our jokes about how one-sided this stage of WCS can be, but that was not today. Other than a couple of mana series, it's been very, very close. Game 3 is around.
Yep. No, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. I think 4 in a row. And even the Mana 2-1 series also had its moment. I think especially Showtime against HeroMarine, if you guys just joined us, that was an awesome series. You should absolutely check it out. And yeah, these guys are obviously very evenly matched. Seems like MarineLord wants 1 or 2 minutes, Jeff, so that gives us some time maybe to talk about the upcoming matches in WCS and NA. I think 2 perhaps players that stand out with Jon Snow and Australia. I think they are the 2 clear favorites going into that group. But hey, Drunken Boy, he's back. He's been playing quite a bit again. Always looks good. And then a pretty unknown player for many of you guys out there, I can only assume, in the name of Sodorks. And that's always kind of exciting as well to see how he does on a big stage.
Yeah, it'll be fun that it's showing off a new player. I find that I always get excited about that, but the kind of funny thing about WCS is the like normalizing effect. It's like, look at this new guy getting a good result, and then in the group stage, like, bam, and we're like, okay, never mind. Let's talk about the guys that are here every single season. I'd love to be wrong, and we've had a couple amazing dark horse runs. I think back to Silky's kind of first appearance where he, or maybe it was the second, but either way, one of his early appearances where he ends up beating Neeb and really shocking a lot of people.
With the bailing boss back then.
Yeah, and since then, he's actually, I think he's in one of the groups in the following weekend, so we'll get to see him again as well, I believe.
A while ago, there was also a Zerg that suddenly entered WCS in the name of Antis, and I also thought he did pretty well. I think he put up a good fight, made a good name for himself, but then unfortunately, I think he got busy with school again and wasn't able to play that much. Like, I've played a lot against Sodorks, and I absolutely think he's a smart player. He has a lot of very cool builds. I don't know if he's necessarily ready for a Jon Snow or an Australia because, as they often say, there are levels to this game, and these guys are really good compared to almost everyone on the ladder. Then you meet a Jon Snow, then you meet an Australia, and suddenly you're like, okay, maybe I'm not that good yet, but hey, maybe with some creative play, maybe with some cool builds, there could be a little bit of magic happening later today. HeroMarine is ready. He says, go, go, go. Good luck, have fun. But MarineLord, I mean, he is getting a little older, Jeff.
He needs time.
Yeah, he needs time. He needs a minute to recover after a slugfest like we just saw.
21 to 24 is just night and day. You know, 21, you can be, your bones are just elastic. You can be thrown off a building, you'll bounce around, you're fine. 24, you start cracking when you get up out of bed. It's kind of crazy stuff, especially as a Frenchman, too. It's like you start cracking at 17, I think. It happens a little bit earlier for those guys. But we are ready. The countdown is done, and the map will be Turbo Cruise. I think you said that. I'm hearing it now in my head. But this has been a map. I've been surprised how much we're seeing these in best of threes, by the way, because this map is weird. And, I mean, on the Pylon show, we were talking about this map will never get picked. Wrong. Yeah, people like it.
Absolutely. We were actually talking a bit about this with each other. Ooh, as one SCV got sent out incredibly early before the series started, and we took a look at the maps, and we're like, actually, all maps seem to be played quite a bit this season. And like, what are we not seeing? And I was like, well, we don't see that much of Kairos, but you see it every now and then. We don't see that much of Kingscove, but it was the previous map. I guess the only map that's kind of an outlier right now, you could say, is Cyber Forest. But we did see that, for instance, yesterday in a laser against Uthermal. So not super rare, but I would probably say that that's the least popular map. But definitely not Turbo Cruise, man. People are loving those slow bubbles, Jeff.
Yeah, and I think it did a good job of having this kind of almost like shoots and ladder type where if you do avoid the bubbles, you're going up and down and windy, and there's a lot of chokes, there's a lot of defensive positions. And the bubbles do slow you down, but not so much so that it's impossibly bad. Like, if you tell your SCV to go across the map to your opponent's base, it'll go right through the bubbles, and it'll get there in a decent time. So,
Oh, and double barracks.
my God. Double barracks.
I love how he needed 2-3 minutes to get ready to build 2 barracks on the other side of the map.
He's like, yeah, I'll do that thing I've been doing for 6 years, actually. That's fine.
HeroMarine is opening up with 2 refineries. It's obviously important that he sniffs this out, and once he knows what he's going up against, we can say this over and over and over again, it's so important that he keeps... Wait, what?
Ooh.
Oh, it's just the Marauder one. He's going for the Marauders.
Wow.
Okay, well...
That SCV's kind of...
Then it's important that you get a bunker, Jeff.
It's very important, Kevin. Very important. And he hasn't been, by the way.
He doesn't... Actually, both these guys did
He
not
won't scout either.
No, they didn't scout that much at all in the early stages of this game.
MarineLord
MarineLord.
to do this? He's going to steal it from the hero?
That'd be sad. Big Gabe would not be pleased. This is not how you get unblocked on Twitter.
Yeah, well, I went for the honorable build and he decided to cheese in the final game. You know, it's the thing a lower player will do. Like, if I'm playing like Cyril as Terran or something like that, like he won't do this build.
You're actually surprisingly good at the HeroMarine.
I watch a lot of his stream, dude. I'm not even kidding you. I love it.
I had a great moment the other day. I was watching the HeroMarine stream and he lost against Neep and he's like, yeah, well, Neep is good, but so am I. Perhaps he's butter, but not that much butter, so it shouldn't be like this.
Kevin, it's a low ground CC too, my dude.
Oh my goodness. Big Gabe is in trouble, guys. He still hasn't scouted. This Reaper is about to be in for a very rude awakening. There's concussive shells as well. And Jeff, you remember game 1? This could be even shorter. This Hellion is going to get tagged. The Reaper gets tagged as well. Wow, he doesn't get a single kill. Okay, well, cancel the CC. SCVs are pretty good against Marauders, Jeff.
Widowmine is actually queued up here, and the SCVs will get pulled off, but he's going to kite back for days. That SCV in the high ground, of course, dies.
Needs to deny high ground vision. Oh, that's very, very important. But obviously, this eBay has a lot of HP. Very well done. These Marauders still going to be able to get a couple shots off. That Widowmine is here right now, Jeff.
Yep, and it plants. The SCV spots it, though. It might actually...
No, don't shoot at the SCV.
He picks it up. He targets it, scans, tries to... He does kill it before it gets a shot off.
Wow.
And now it's just Reapers behind this, and the SCVs are all so low, by the way. They're about to kind of spill over into the dead category.
This eBay is so smart. It was so hard to pick it off because eBays have a lot of HP, and it provides high ground vision over and over and over again for these Marauders. Another Widowmine shows up, but this mine gets picked off as well. I think this is it, Jeff. These Marauders are still looking very, very healthy.
Yep, 5 Marauders now here, backing up, killing so many SCVs. The worker count now in favor of MarineLord, the guy that's all-inning, by the way. And he is chomping at the bit for this win. He'll advance into that top 8 and destroy one of the best players in all of Europe in HeroMarine. And the final SCVs are trickling. There's the GG, and MarineLord has done it. 2-1 over HeroMarine. And that's it's not the biggest upset, right? Like they're very good, but I would say HeroMarine is that player that has taken games off of Cyril, made it further. But MarineLord, notice throughout the whole series, you're not scouting me. You make Reapers and they just kind of sit in the front of your base. You don't even bunker. You don't do anything like that. And it's been MarineLord getting away with being greedy. But in this case, he pulls out the great strategy.
And it's the second time in a row right now in a WCS event that MarineLord is able to defeat HeroMarine. And obviously, this is great news for MarineLord that he makes it now into the top 8. And he's still in the running to at least get a top 4 spot, which is an all expenses paid trip to the next WCS event. But if you think a little bit about these WCS rankings, HeroMarine made it into the global finals last year. You know, had a pretty good and consistent showing throughout the entirety of the year. But we know how close it gets when it comes to the the race of WCS points towards the end of the year. If your name is not Cyril, or perhaps Rainer, because Rainer is probably going to crush it as well this year, it's going to be a very tight battle. And all points matter. And these points in Challenger, they matter a lot for a player like HeroMarine.
And it puts a lot of stress on him. He's now going to have to fly to the Ukraine and do it through that open bracket, which is chock full of very good players. So congratulations to MarineLord. He will make it out second in this group, but we can take a look at the results for today. And it's been a banger. If you're just now joining us, because you're a lazy North American, I don't know who you are. You're just rolling out of bed. You didn't watch us earlier in the day. Fine. Watch the VODs. Go back and check this out. This was a game day to be remembered. Some of the best games. In fact, like I said earlier, maybe my favorite game, that Showtime versus HeroMarine might be the best WCS game I've seen in a very long time. But it will be Showtime making it out of this group, surviving, I would even say. And second will be MarineLord. A little bit of a surprise. because he's not HeroMarine, but he's been doing very well. He's been on top of that ladder. He's been getting those results. And like Kevin pointed out at the beginning, the last time they played in the WCS group, which was their most recent match, it was MarineLord edging that out. And he does it again with the Mind Games.
Yep, absolutely establishing him. People still doubted him as one of the very, very best Terrans in Europe. For the longest time, we pretty much only mentioned Utom on HeroMarine. Every now and then you mention So as well, because we know that he's capable of it, even if he doesn't have the tournament results yet. But I think by now you can no longer deny that MarineLord is part of that group of elite European Terrans right now, because these results don't lie.
They absolutely don't. Great game. So we're going to go to a
Clem,
break.
Of course.
And Clem, he's up there as well. All the French people, for sure. We're going to go to a quick break. It's a little bit longer as we set up for the North American side of this WCS Challenger Day. Nate's been baking some lasagna. We're going to feed on that real quick. And then we'll come back and commentate a whole nother group of 4 fantastic players. It should be good. The thing is, I'm supposed to be that camera, right?
No, I think...
Is it that one?
This one right in front of us.
My eyes are so bad. I was looking over here, but then I look at the TV and I'm like, why is Jeff like this talking to... Anyways, I'm a terrible host, but it's what you got. So thank you guys so much. We'll be right back with more StarCraft in just a few moments.